Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Today we bring you stories for both kids and kids at heart. In New York, we tour a museum with a unique play on history, and then a conversation with NBA star Steph Curry about his uplifting new children's book. But we begin with a growing movement taking place in schools across the country. More than 75% of public schools now prohibit cell phone use during classroom hours. Meg Oliver goes inside one phone-free school to see how the policy is impacting students.
For students at Newburgh Free Academy in New York, the first assignment of the day, locking their phones in pouches made by the company Yonder for 7 hours, including lunch. It was a bit of a shock for some students when the policy was introduced 4 years ago.
I was ready to start a petition, bring it to the principal, stop it real fast.
But no one signed 17-year-old Tyson Hill's petition, and now he loves attending a phone-free school.
Why is this approach better?
I mean, coming from a school where it was banned but it wasn't implemented, I was still using my phone. I was still on my phone.
Here, students walk with their heads up in the hall, socialize and laugh in the lunchroom, and focus on what teachers like Dennis Marr are saying.
That's the beauty of this.
It's a game changer. Yeah, it's night and day. I saw kids' faces again.
According to the CDC, in the 10 years leading up to the pandemic, feelings of persistent sadness and hopelessness, as well as suicidal thoughts and behaviors, increased by about 40%, while test scores, especially in math for grades 4 and 8, saw the biggest decline on record. While there's debate on whether technology, including phones, deserves much of the blame for these trends, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt says it's the only explanation.
So it wasn't the pandemic that did this to us. This was all starting in the early 2010s, and the only explanation anyone can offer for why this happened all over the world is the phones.
Haidt is the author of The Coddling of the American Mind and started researching Gen Z in 2015 when cases of anxiety and depression started to rise. He says in 2010, most teenagers had flip phones they use for texting, a tool to help them connect in person. But between 2010 and 2015, smartphones changed the landscape, inundating people with notifications, group chats, and social media.
Smartphones are basically kryptonite for learning. When children have a phone in their pocket, and most schools say you have to keep your phone in your pocket, you can't use it during class, which is like saying in a drug detox clinic, you can keep your heroin in your pocket, just don't shoot up, don't shoot up. If kids have access to a phone, they will text, they will check their social media, they will not pay attention to the teacher or to each other in person.
Back at Newburgh Free Academy, students lock up their phones and leave them in the classroom all day. The technology isn't new, but the company Yonder estimates they saw a 150% increase in schools using them in 2023, with more than 2,000 schools participating.
It's amazing to see kids come to school and not have to worry about that phone going off and a video being posted of them fighting in the bathroom or them being bullied by someone else on social media.
Assistant Principal Ebony Clark says the pushback to remove phones was minimal, including concerns over safety.
There's an emergency, an active shooter. That phone going off makes them a target.
Yonder pouches cost between $25 and $30 per student. Haidt says while they aren't foolproof, it's an easy solution for a generation in the midst of a mental health crisis.
This was a disastrous experiment that we began in the early 2010s. We didn't know any better then. We know better now.
We stay in New York to examine how school systems are dealing with the ongoing migrant crisis. 34,000 migrant children have enrolled in New York City public schools since 2022. Omar Villafranca visits one elementary school to see how educators and officials are keeping up.
Last year, Miriam and Miguel, along with their 7-year-old son Jordan, traveled more than 3,000 miles from Ecuador to the U.S.-Mexico border. For safety, they didn't want us using their last name. The family landed in New York City, where Jordan started his educational journey. At PS 51 Elementary School in Manhattan, Jordan is one of 34,000 migrant kids enrolled in New York City schools in the past 18 months.
Who is this? Say, Grandma. Grandma.
Their first lesson comes in Liz Pearson's English as a New Language, or ENL class.
Some of them have surprisingly a lot of languages or different languages, and some of them are starting at 0.
How do you get them to kind of latch on?
A lot of smiling and laughing to make them feel comfortable.
Some lawmakers are worried about overcrowded classrooms and the cost immigration has on education. The move has not been easy for this young family.
Lo más difícil es que no les entiendo porque solo hablan inglés y no tengo amigos con quien jugar. Que le he preguntado cuando viene de la escuela, me dice, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Cómo, qué tal te fue? Estoy bien, me sabe decir. No me dice lo que ahorita estoy escuchando.
Adding to the challenge, they had to vacate their shelter room 2 weeks ago.
Desde a sufrir, se vino a sufrir y más que todos nosotros y hacerle sufrir a nuestros hijos.
Hola, mijo.
Unable to find work or a place to live, the family is starting over again in Minneapolis, hoping for another chance at the American dream.
Coming up, a museum for fun and games. That story's next. Welcome back. Museums are most well known for preserving art, science, and history. But we found one in upstate New York that just might be having more fun than others, since it's home to an extensive collection of toys, games, and playgrounds. Of course, Jamie Wax takes us on a tour.
Welcome to the Mecca of play. A space where your inner child can let loose, and the games of your dreams are quite literally larger than life.
Oh, man, that was painful.
So close. It's these reimagined interactive exhibits that fill the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York.
Steve, I feel like I'm in the middle of a video game right now.
Steve Dubnick has been CEO of the museum since 2017 and is overseeing the current expansion.
What is this expansion going to do for this place, adding 90,000 more square feet?
So play is an ever-evolving topic, right? And how people play changes constantly. And we saw in the mid-2000s that video games was an area that people were really using to evolve their play forms into. And so as video games grew as a topic and how people play, we needed a way to collect and preserve that history. And we just really ran out of room in our existing facility to do that.
In the expansion wing, visitors will find supersized versions of their favorite video games, explore the interactive exhibits, and learn the history of the technology.
This is the periodic table behind us and next to us of video game elements. Just tell me, this is sort of like the science of play, basically, right?
Every game you play, you're doing something. You're moving, or you're solving, or you're creating, and so on. And so our academic team really recognized that and came up with this concept of forming that into a periodic table of video game elements.
In addition to the expansion, there's still plenty of room for older games and toys, like early versions of Barbie, as play historian and vice president for exhibits John Paul Dyson showed us.
This is Charles Darrow's round Monopoly set from his own home from the 30s, and everything is handwritten, hand-drawn on this.
This is the very first version of Monopoly that he created.
We also got to explore the vast basement area of the museum.
This is a chance for us to really preserve and document the history of play in all its forms,
which houses an array of pinball treasures, oddities, and some original designs.
We had the prototype for Tickle Me Elmo here in the museum. Actually went through a couple different versions, but one of the guys who created it, this guy Greg Hyman, he also created this toy Alfie, which was one of the first electronic toys. Yeah. And here you can see not only the finished product, but also the first prototype here, which is amazing.
We sat down to discuss all of these things and the very serious nature of play.
What's the definition of play to you?
To me, at least, on some level, play is fun. If we're not having a good time, we maybe are not playing. You know, we learn so much when we play. We build friendships when we play. It's how we learn to deal with the way life just throws curveballs at us. When you see children playing, they're learning how to deal with a world that changes all the time. And so as adults, we take those skills and hopefully we keep playing too.
When the museum was founded in 1969, it was originally called Margaret Woodbury Strong's Museum of Fascination. Since then, the museum has adapted the play mission, acquiring the National Toy Hall of Fame. Today, there are playgrounds, a reading adventure, and even a rope course to explore.
So there's interactive elements, whether that's you're pretending to be in a pet care center, or you're playing a video game that was maybe one you played when you were younger. It's a great chance to animate play in a museum setting. It's a little bit different than most museums.
Yeah. And that difference is one that can definitely be felt. Playfully, yes, but also meaningfully.
What can we learn from play that might help move us forward?
Play is this wonderful means of just bringing people together. And you see that on a playground. It doesn't matter their background, they're just playing together. And so, in that sense, I think play is a model that it's not about what I'm getting. It's about the experience overall, and how can we make this a joyous experience for all of us.
We turn now to a recycling center where one man's trash is another kid's fortune. Carter Evans introduces us to a teen whose recycling business is giving back to the community.
This van here, this is yours.
Yes.
Right? You can't even drive.
Ryan Hickman may only be 14 years old, but he already runs a recycling business covering a large stretch of Southern California.
This is probably about 5 days.
5 days? He started collecting and sorting bottles and cans from neighbors and friends when he was just 3 years old.
It's fun. It's good for the planet. Why not? And free money, too.
All those nickels he was earning were adding up. By the time he was 7, Ryan had reached his first $10,000. And when this Facebook post went viral, overnight, Ryan's recycling became a rampant success.
This is from everywhere I've heard from.
Now, with the help of his donated electric van, Ryan collects cash not only for his college fund, but to help others. He has a worldwide following and a bedroom wall full of awards for his charity work.
The Anaheim Ducks, the Sea Waste and Recycling.
Ryan now leads beach cleanups almost every week.
Oh, piece of styrofoam right here.
Man, I can't believe you spotted that.
I have good eyes.
You make money off the bottles and cans, but you don't make any money off this.
No.
This is just all volunteer. Thank you. Out of the goodness of your heart, huh?
Mm-hmm. Trash.
All driven by a teenage boy's passion and compassion.
This is trash. You want to get it?
Yeah, I want to get it. This is like pity trash for me.
It's okay.
Ryan's dad, Damien, is all in.
This has taken over your family's life. This has become your business.
Yeah, you know, and Ryan, I saw the passion that Ryan had in it at such a young age, and I'm like, wow, this is actually going someplace.
So 2 years ago, he quit his job as a graphic designer and followed Ryan's passion for recycling.
I think we have 8,000 customers since we started, and the numbers are growing every day.
Their 14 employees drive around Southern California picking up people's bottles and cans.
The white bin is for plastic only.
They recycle them and share the profits with their customers, while father and son share a bond.
It's been fun getting to hang out with him, and he enjoyed it too.
United on a mission to help the planet and pay for college, one nickel at a time.
Ahead, star athlete Steph Curry's inspiring message to children about embracing their differences. This is Eye on America. We close our show with a call for self-acceptance, courtesy of Steph Curry. The NBA superstar published his second children's book, I Am Extraordinary, about the power of being different. Jericka Duncan sits down with the athlete to talk about his life and his ever-expanding career.
What was the inspiration with this book?
Coming off of the first book, I Have a Superpower, trying to create amazing storytelling for kids that can inspire confidence and them embracing how unique they are. And with Zoe's story, her hearing aids being something that she has to deal with on a daily basis, the confidence to walk into any room and embrace who she is, I think it'll hopefully inspire kids to love who they are.
You pop up in I Am Extraordinary, and we'd love to have you read your section.
This is after Zoe's made her breakthrough on the soccer field. Wow, Zoe, what an inspirational story. There will always be obstacles in life, but those obstacles aren't there to stop you. They're to challenge you, and it's up to you to find the courage and the strength to overcome them. So what makes you extraordinary?
In this book, you talk about being underrated. You know all about that.
There's a special kind of connection to, like you said, my story coming up through basketball. I didn't pass the eye test. I was called like a late bloomer, but it was about developing a confidence in who I was, developing a work ethic, not getting deterred by failure along the way.
So you're a father of 3, Riley, Ryan, and Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
What are the ages of all 3 now?
So we are 11, 8, and 5.
You're in the thick of it.
We're in the thick of it.
What did they say about the book? Did they get a chance to read it?
They have read it, and it's always like that confusion. Like, you wrote a children's book? Like,
your kids are confused.
Yeah, like what? Because
you do more than play basketball.
Yeah, like they have the rooms are filled with books, but when it's one that Dad brings home, it's a little bit more special.
The Curry's Eat, Learn, Play Foundation is making big strides to keep reading a part of every child's life.
Literacy is clearly at the cornerstone of what you all are doing, and I just want to read you some statistics. When you look at Oakland, based on standardized test scores in 2021 and 2022, during that school year, only 36% of third graders were reading on grade level. Only 36% in Oakland. Did you know that beforehand, or was this presented to you and you saw an area where you could really be a force of change?
Life has an interesting way of kind of revealing, where you need to be. Those numbers, once you started to dig in and where the need was, especially in Oakland, where we do the majority of our work, it was shocking. It was a huge downer to know, like, this is something that can be corrected. This is something that, with the right investment, with the right approach of getting kids the appropriate, culturally relevant, age-appropriate books, tutoring, which is another element of what we're doing. We've invested almost over $6 million into literacy within the Oakland and Greater Bay Area, so we're going to continue to do it. Remember, your heart is your superpower.
So we have this clip of you from 2008. This was one of your first appearances on CBS. Do you remember this?
Oh, for real?
Do you remember this?
I did an interview?
You did an interview, you and your father.
Oh my goodness.
You ready?
I haven't seen this one.
How did you choose Davidson?
Just coming out of high school, I was kind of a small kid, and HCC schools weren't on me.
They weren't recruiting you?
Got on my senior year, and Davidson was on me from the beginning. They recruited me hard, and I love Coach McKillop and the coaching staff.
1,700 kids, all of them getting in those buses, coming out.
I'm only laughing because I got this full facial, and I'm looking at, there's like literally the most pencil-thin mustache that I was trying to hold on to right there. That is hilarious. The run we had was pretty special.
Knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
I mean, I would just tell him to keep doing what he was doing, just because I think everybody says that everything goes by so fast, right? And if you could take, those snapshots of every milestone, every moment, and really embrace the beauty of it, that'd probably be the best advice. Even that, I didn't even remember that as a college kid from a 1900 student, Davidson College, going to New York and doing the media circuit. It was insane.
Look at you now.
It was insane.
Steph Curry for president.
Thank y'all for welcoming us here.
Yay, nay, maybe.
Maybe.
You have an interest in politics?
I have an interest in leveraging every part of my influence for good in the way that I can. So if that's the way to do it, then I'm not saying the presidency, but if politics, that's maybe, but I'm saying if politics is a way that you can create meaningful change, or if there's another way outside of politics, that we can do.
You're not ruling it out?
No.
2028, you never know.
Not that soon.
Not that soon, okay.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.